The distress beacon pulsed through the void, its desperate rhythm a stark contrast to the usual orderly communications of Nexus 7. I, Six Dial, third diplomatic attaché to the Galactic Council, was unfortunate enough to be on communication duty when it arrived. "Oh, splendid," I muttered to my console, "another human emergency requiring immediate attention." The council chamber erupted into its typical chaos when I forwarded the signal. Representatives from 17 species gesticulated with various appendages, their translator modules struggling to keep pace with their agitation. "We cannot ignore a distress call," insisted Ambassador Tackle of the Flexian Collective, always the bleeding heart. Ambassador Vox, a massive gelatinous blob from Rigel, quivered dramatically. The last time we responded to humans, 3 of my cousins returned with what they called practical jokes embedded in their membranes. I couldn't help but snort. Those jokes had been hilarious, though I'd never admit it. Council Chair XYZ Tango HTTP HPI SPIRSONS, Rick, fluttered her wing membranes for silence. "The treaty obligations are clear. We must send assistance." "Send the Cartesians," someone suggested. "They're expendable." "We heard that," hissed the Cartesian delegate. I tapped my datapad, projecting the colony's specifications. Nexus 7 houses 15,000 humans, with their primary export being specialized minerals and apparently trouble. Laughter rippled through the chamber, quickly silenced by XYZ Tango HTTP HPI SPIRSONS, Rick's glare. "The environmental conditions alone have defeated 3 rescue attempts," I added, enjoying their discomfort. "Perhaps we need specialists." The chamber fell silent as my implications sank in. "You can't possibly suggest," began Vox. I smiled with all 4 rows of my teeth. "Oh, but I am. If we need to save humans from an impossible situation, there's only one solution." "No," whispered XYZ Tango HTTP HPI SPIRSONS, Rick. "Yes," I replied. "We need humans, dangerous ones." The Council's request to Earth's United Defense Force was met with disturbing enthusiasm. Within hours, I found myself in orbit around an at-water-logged planet, tasked with liaising with their so-called specialists. "Commander Elena Rodriguez," announced the UDF officer escorting me through their orbital station, "highest survival rate of any rescue team leader in the force." "Yeah," I reviewed her file on my datapad. "It says he or she has been declared dead 3 times. The officer grinned. She got better. Rodriguez was waiting in the briefing room, a stocky human with brown skin and eyes that seemed to evaluate 17 different ways to neutralize me the moment I entered. Her hair was cropped short, and a scar ran along her jawline that her medical technology could have easily removed. She'd kept it intentionally. Humans. "So you lost contact with one of our colonies, and your people are too scared to check it out?" Her voice carried the peculiar human mixture of amusement and challenge. 3 rescue teams, I corrected. "We lost 3 rescue teams." Rodriguez's face split into a grin that made my exoskeleton tighten. "Sounds fun. Let me introduce you to the team." They filed in, each human somehow more unsettling than the last. Lieutenant Marcus Chen, demolitions expert. His file listed 16 successful extractions and 27 controlled demolitions resulting in total structural failure. He winked at me. "I make things go boom so good even physics takes notes." Dr. Olivia Blackwood, xenobiologist. She'd once survived 3 weeks inside a Directlian hive mind. "Your left antenna is twitching. Nervous system disorder or social anxiety?" she asked, already reaching for instruments. Tech specialist Darius Jackson, his implants glinted as he immediately hacked my datapad. "Your encryption is cute, like a baby's first puzzle cube," he laughed, returning it with my personal messages now displayed. Security Officer Kira Volkov, ex-Special Forces, now more machine than, human. She said nothing, simply nodded, but her cybernetic eye whirred as it scanned me. Her file was mostly redacted, which was terrifying in itself. Rodriguez circled them like a predator proud of its cubs. Ladies, gentlemen, and variations thereupon, we've got ourselves a rescue mission. Alien planet, unknown threat, and the distinct possibility of not coming back. They all smiled. They actually smiled. Standard Tuesday, then, remarked Chen, generating laughter. Rodriguez's briefing continued, peppered with phrases like acceptable casualty rate and creative problem-solving that made my translator glitch. When she mentioned possible hostile contact, Volkov actually looked disappointed when Rodriguez clarified that diplomacy was preferred. "Any questions?" Rodriguez concluded. "Just one," said Jackson, pointing at me. "Is Bugsy here coming along? Because I'd hate for him to miss the fun." All eyes turned to me, gleaming with an emotion I couldn't identify, but instinctively feared. "Unfortunately," I managed, "I will be coordinating from the council vessel." "Pity," said Rodriguez, slapping my carapace hard enough to crack it. "We'll try to bring you back a souvenir." From their laughter, I suspected that souvenir might be my nightmares. Back aboard the council vessel, I facilitated the official briefing. The humans lounged in chairs designed for Arturian physiology, looking absurdly comfortable in furniture that should have been torturous. Nexus 7 went dark approximately 32 planetary rotations ago, explained Council Representative Mubark, her tentacles nervously coiling. The last transmission mentioned an anomalous energy readings and unusual psychological effects among colonists. Rodriguez leaned forward. "Define unusual." "Mass hallucinations, temporal disorientation, reports of colonists seeing deceased relatives walking the perimeter." "Sounds like college," said Chen, generating snickers from his teammates. Mubark blinked all 7 eyes in confusion. "The planet itself presents numerous challenges: gravity fluctuations, atmospheric toxicity, and temperature variations between extremes." Jackson yawned theatrically. "So basically Cleveland." More laughter. I was beginning to understand why some species found humans physically painful to be around. 3 rescue teams have failed to return," I added severely. "The Flexian, the Guard Zurian, and the Quantum Mechanists all disappeared without a trace." Volkov finally spoke, her voice low and modulated. "Those are all telepathic or hive mind species. Did anyway think to send individuals with actual mental privacy?" The silence that followed was damning. "You will be provided with our most advanced environmental suits," continued Mubark hastily. Blackwood was examining the holographic schematics. "These wouldn't last an hour in the conditions you're describing. We'll use our own gear." "But our technobiology is far superior," Mubark began. "Your technology didn't bring back your rescue teams," Rodriguez interjected. She unfolded a knife from somewhere on her person and began cleaning under her fingernails with it. "We'll take your fancy scanners, but the rest stays." The humans then opened the crates they'd brought aboard. I expected advanced weaponry. Instead, I saw primitive projectile weapons, bladed instruments, and explosive devices that looked dangerously unstable. "These are archaic," I couldn't help commenting. Chen patted what appeared to be a simple metal tube with affection. "Sometimes the old ways are best. No way-eyed to hack, no power cells to fail, just good old-fashioned violence," added Rodriguez with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, a universal language. Mubark's tentacles drained of color. "Your mission is to locate survivors and determine what happened, not to engage in violence." Rodriguez's laugh was sharp enough to cut. "Have you ever been on a rescue mission, Representative?" "Well, no. But then, with all due respect, shut up and watch how dangerous humans do impossible things." The 6-day journey to Nexus 7 proved more harrowing than anticipated, not from space anomalies or technical failures, but from sharing confined quarters with humans. "What are they doing now?" whispered Navigator Flick as we observed the crew lounge through security feeds. The humans sat around a small table, tossing small rectangular papers at each other and occasionally shouting in triumph or dismay. "I believe it's called poker, a ritualistic competition involving calculated deception and resource allocation. They're lying to each other for entertainment." Exactly. Every day brought new, baffling behaviors. Rodriguez and Volkov engaged in violent physical combat that they called sparring, leaving bruises they wore like decorative markings. Chen dismantled and reassembled explosive devices with alarming speed while humming discordant melodies. Blackwood dissected a meal provided by our nutritional synthesizers, declaring it fascinating garbage before consuming it anyway. Most disturbing was Jackson, who had somehow befriended our ship's AI. The two engaged in what they termed